Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English in Advance. I'm Jessica, your host for today. If you are here, listening to my voice right now, it's probably because you have a dream. It's a dream I know very well. The dream of speaking English fluently, easily, and with complete confidence. You imagine yourself having conversations without pausing to search for words, understanding movies without needing subtitles, and connecting with people from all over the world without hesitation. But I also know that for many of you, this dream feels distant. Maybe you feel stuck. You've been learning for years. You know the grammar rules. You have a good vocabulary. But when it's time to speak, something freezes inside you. The words get trapped somewhere between your mind and your mouth. I understand how frustrating that can be. When you listen to native speakers and their words flow like a river, fast and smooth, and you feel like you're trying to catch water with your hands. But today, I want to make you a promise. I want you to know that you don't have to struggle anymore. You don't have to feel stuck in this intermediate phase forever. Because in our session today, I am going to guide you through the easiest and most natural way to learn English. I want you to take a deep breath with me. And as you exhale, I want you to let go of everything that has ever made English feel difficult for you. Let's forget about the complicated grammar rules that make you overthink every sentence. Let's forget about that pressure to be perfect, that voice in your head that criticizes every little mistake. And most importantly, let's forget about the fear, because the number one reason people fail to speak English fluently is not a lack of knowledge. It is fear. It's the fear of making mistakes, the fear of embarrassing yourself, the fear of being judged by others. But let me ask you a simple question. Think back to when you were a small child. How did you learn your very first language? Did your parents give you grammar books to study? Did you spend hours memorizing long lists of words before you dared to speak? Of course not. You learned by being surrounded by the language. You learned by listening, by watching, by copying the sounds you heard, by making thousands of mistakes, and by using the language every single day to ask for what you wanted, to share how you felt, and to connect with the people you loved. This, my friends, is exactly how you are going to master English. The secret is this. You don't need to study English anymore. You need to live English. English should not be a boring subject that you practice for 1 hour a day and then forget about for the other 23. It should become a natural part of your world. You should hear it when you wake up. Think in it as you go about your day, and speak it in small moments, every single day. Now, I can almost hear you thinking, but Jessica, how do I do that? I don't live in an English-speaking country. I don't have anyone to practice with. Please, don't worry. I will explain everything, step by step, in detail. I will not just give you a list of tips. I will take you on a journey where English stops being a challenge and starts becoming a friend. So, find a comfortable place, relax your mind, and let's begin this journey together. The very first step on our journey, and without a doubt the most important one, is to change your mindset. Your mind is the control center for your entire learning experience. If you believe deep down that English is difficult, your brain will constantly look for proof that you are right. It will resist learning. It will make you feel tired when you try to study. It will magnify every mistake you make. But if you can truly start to believe that English is easy and natural for you to learn, your brain will start working with you, not against you. Think about a baby learning to walk. The baby tries to stand up, wobbles for a second, and then falls down. Does the baby think, "Oh, this is too difficult. I am a failure. I will never be able to walk"? Number. The baby simply gets up and tries again, and again, and again. The baby falls hundreds of times, but he never stops trying. He doesn't see falling as a mistake. He sees it as part of the process. And after some time, with enough practice, he starts walking and then running without any effort at all. This is the perfect metaphor for learning English. Mistakes are not just a part of learning. They are the path to learning. If you are not making mistakes, it means you are not trying new things. And if you're not trying, you are not learning. So, right now, I want you to say these words with me. Say them out loud if you can, or say them silently in your mind, but feel them. Believe them. Let's say it together. English is easy. I can speak English. I am learning and improving every day. These are not just empty words. They are powerful instructions for your brain. The more you repeat them, especially in the morning when you wake up and at night before you sleep, the more your brain will start to accept them as truth. From this moment forward, I want you to make a promise to yourself. Never again say, "My English is bad." Never again say, "I cannot speak English." Those phrases are like poison to your confidence. Instead, change your language. If you make a mistake, you can say, "That was a good try. I'm learning." If you struggle with a word, you can say, "I'm still practicing my pronunciation." Always frame your experience in a positive, forward-moving way. Instead of focusing on your weaknesses, focus on your progress. Say, "I am learning and improving every day." This small but profound change in your thinking, in the story you tell yourself about your abilities, will make a bigger difference in your learning journey than any grammar book ever could. Your belief is the foundation. If the foundation is strong, the house you build will be strong too. Now that we have fortified our mindset and built a strong foundation of belief, our next step is to create an English world around us. Many people have the mistaken idea that you must live in the United States, or the UK, or Australia to become fluent in English. But let me tell you, that is absolutely not true. I have met countless people who have lived in English-speaking countries for years and still struggle to speak fluently. And I have also met incredible speakers who have never left their home country. The difference is not their location, it's their environment. You can create a rich, immersive English environment wherever you are right now. Let's start with the device you probably use more than any other, your smartphone. The very first thing you should do, right after listening to this, is to change your phone's language to English. This is such a simple action, but it has a massive impact. Think about it. Every time you unlock your phone, check a notification, or open an app, you will see and interact with English words, settings, messages, calendar, call. Your brain will get so comfortable seeing these words that they will become a natural part of your vocabulary without you even trying to memorize them. Next, we need to work on the most important conversation you have every day, the one inside your own head, Right now, you most likely think in your native language, and then, when you want to speak, you go through the slow, tiring process of translating each word and sentence into English. This is what creates those awkward pauses and makes speaking feel so difficult. We need to break this habit. The way to do it is by starting to think directly in English. Don't panic. This doesn't mean you need to think in complex, perfect sentences from day one. You start small. You start simple. For example, when you wake up tomorrow morning, instead of your usual thoughts in your native language, try to form a simple English thought. Instead of thinking, I need to brush my teeth, just think, I will brush my teeth now. As you walk to the kitchen to make your morning coffee or tea, think in English, I am making tea. As you add milk or sugar, think, this tea smells so good. When you look out the window, think, the weather is nice today, or it looks cloudy. At first, this will feel strange, even a little forced. Your brain will want to switch back to its comfortable default language. That's normal. Just gently guide it back to English. The more you do this, day after day, the more natural it will become. You are creating new pathways in your brain. After some time, you'll find that English thoughts start popping into your head automatically, without any effort. Another wonderful and powerful way to build your English world is by talking to yourself. Yes, you heard me correctly. Become your own speaking partner. Talk to yourself in English every single day. You can do this while you're cooking, cleaning, or getting ready to go out. Stand in front of the mirror and have a full conversation. For example, you can say, hello, Jessica. How are you today? And then answer yourself. I am good, thank you. I have a lot of work to do, but I am feeling great and I think it's going to be a productive day. This might feel a little funny or even silly at first, but I promise you, it is one of the most effective ways to improve your speaking skills. Why? Because when you talk to yourself, there is zero fear. There is no one there to judge you. You can make as many mistakes as you want. You can experiment with new words and sentences. The more you practice speaking out loud in this safe environment, the more confident and prepared you will become for real conversations with other people. A final, simple, but powerful method to immerse yourself is by labeling things in your house. Get some small pieces of paper or sticky notes. Walk around your home and write the English names of the objects you see. Stick the label door on your door. Stick table on your table. Put refrigerator on your fridge. Mirror on your mirror. Window on your window. But don't just stop there. Make it an active practice. Every time you see a label, don't just read the word. Say it out loud and make a simple sentence. For example, when you see the book on your table, say, this is a book. The book is on the table. When you see the cup in your kitchen, say, this is a cup. I drink tea from this cup. By doing this, you are constantly training your brain to connect the English word directly to the object, bypassing the need for translation. You are building a world where English is all around you, a world where learning is not a chore, but a constant, natural part of your life. Now let's address a giant obstacle that holds so many learners back: the obsession with grammar. Many people have been taught to believe that they need to learn perfect, flawless grammar before they can even begin to speak. This belief is not only wrong, It is one of the biggest mistakes you can make on your fluency journey. If you focus too much on grammar rules, you will always be speaking from a place of fear. Every time you open your mouth, your mind will be racing. Is this the correct tense? Did I use the right preposition? Should I use the or a? This constant self-monitoring makes your speech slow, robotic, and stressful. I want you to change your approach completely. Instead of your current strategy, which is probably learn grammar first, then speak, I want you to flip it. Your new strategy is learn to speak first and let the grammar correct itself later. Think about it. How do children learn their native language? They don't sit in a classroom studying grammar books. They listen. They absorb. They repeat words and phrases. And over time, their grammar improves naturally through exposure and practice. This is precisely the method you should adopt, instead of memorizing abstract grammar rules, like the structure of the present continuous tense. Focus on learning whole, useful sentences. For example, don't just study the rule, subject plus am/is/ are plus verbing. Instead, learn practical sentences like, I am eating lunch. She is going to the market. They are playing football. If you listen to, repeat, and use these complete sentences over and over again in your daily life, your brain will naturally start to recognize the pattern. Grammar will become something you feel is right, not something you have to think about. The key to this entire process is to listen more and copy more. Be like a parrot. Listen to how native speakers talk in movies, in podcasts, in songs, and then repeat what they say. When you hear a new sentence that you find interesting or useful, don't just try to understand its meaning. Say it out loud. Try to copy the pronunciation, the rhythm, the intonation, the melody of the sentence. This active repetition is what moves knowledge from your passive understanding into your active speaking ability. Now that you understand how to surround yourself with English, think in English and stop fearing grammar, let's go even deeper. Now I am going to show you how to speak English in your daily life. Many people struggle with speaking because they don't know what to say or how to say it. But let me tell you something. You already know how to speak English. You just need to activate it. Think about your daily routine. You wake up, brush your teeth, make tea or coffee, talk to your family, go outside, buy something, meet friends, go to work or school, and at night you relax and sleep. Every single thing you do in your life can be spoken in English. If you practice using English for your daily life, speaking will become easy and natural. So let's start with simple conversations that you can use every day. When you wake up, don't just get out of bed in silence. Start your day by speaking English. For example, as soon as your eyes open, you can say out loud, "Good morning. I feel so fresh today. I think I had a nice sleep. Okay, let me get up now and brush my teeth." Then, as you walk to the bathroom, continue the narration. Say, "I am brushing my teeth now. I am washing my face with cold water. Let me take a quick shower." When you go to the kitchen, keep talking. "I am making some tea. This tea smells so good. I think I will have some toast with butter for breakfast." Even if you are completely alone, say these things out loud. Hearing your own voice speak English is incredibly important. The more you say the words, the more comfortable and familiar they will feel in your mouth. Now, let's imagine you're not alone. Let's practice a real conversation you might have with a family member, perhaps your brother, Michael. This is how a simple, natural morning conversation could go. You could start by saying, "Good morning, Michael." He might reply, "Good morning. How did you sleep?" You can answer, "I slept well, thanks." "What are you making for breakfast?" He says, "I'm making some eggs and toast." "Do you want some tea?" You can say, "Yes, please." "I would love some tea in the morning." He brings you the tea and says, "Okay, your tea is ready." You can respond, "Thank you so much. It smells really nice." Do you see how simple that was? This is a completely natural conversation that you can practice every single day. You don't need difficult vocabulary or complex sentences. Just keep it simple, keep it real, and keep it natural. Now, when you step outside your home, a world of English practice opportunities opens up. For instance, if you're going to the local market, you can narrate your actions. "I need to buy some vegetables today. Let me check my shopping list. Yes, I need tomatoes and onions. I think I will take a bus to the market." When you arrive at a shop, you can have a real-life conversation. Let's practice. You can walk up to the shopkeeper and say, "Excuse me, do you have fresh tomatoes?" The shopkeeper might say, "Yes, of course." Here they are. You can ask, "How much is 1 kilo?" He replies, "It's $2 per kilo." You can say, "Okay, I will take 2 kilos, please." He might ask, "Anything else?" You can respond, "Yes, I also need some onions." He gets them for you and says, "Here you go." That will be $5 in total. You hand him the money and say, "Here is the money." "Thank you." He will likely say, "Thank you." Have a nice day. This is a real functional conversation that happens millions of times a day all over the world. If you can practice and master simple interactions like this, you will never feel afraid to speak English in real-life situations. Later in the day, let's say you meet your friend Chloe. Here's how you can start a casual conversation. You can say, "Hey, Chloe, how are you?" She might say, "I'm good. How about you?" You can answer, "I'm great, thanks." "What are you doing?" She says, "Nothing much, just relaxing at home. Do you want to go for a walk in the park?" You can reply, "Yes, that sounds like a great idea." If you decide to go to a cafe with Chloe, your practice continues. You can say, "Let's order something to drink." "What do you want?" Chloe might say, "I think I want a coffee." "What about you?" You can answer, "I will have a lemonade." You then call the waiter. "Hello, we would like to order, please." The waiter asks, "What would you like to have?" You say, "1 coffee and 1 lemonade, please." The waiter might ask, "Okay. Anything else?" You reply, "No, that's all. Thank you." And the waiter says, "Your order will be ready in a few minutes." Even at night, when you are winding down and relaxing, you can continue to practice. If you are with your family, you could start a conversation like this, "Wow, today was a long day." Your family member might ask, "What did you do today?" You could share, "I went to the market in the morning and then I met my friend Chloe." They might say, "That sounds nice. What did you buy at the market?" You can answer, "I bought some fresh vegetables and fruits for the week." They could say, "Good. Now let's have dinner together." And you might say, "Yes. I'm very hungry." Finally, before you go to sleep, you can have one last conversation with yourself in English. You can reflect on your day. For example, "Today was a good day. I learned a lot of new things and I practiced my English. Tomorrow I will wake up early and practice my morning English routine again. Now it's time to sleep. Good night." As we wrap up this section, let me share one of the most powerful secrets to speaking English fluently. It's a technique I've already mentioned, but it's so important it needs its own spotlight. The secret is listen and repeat. This is not passive listening. It is active imitation. When you hear a new sentence, don't just listen to it. Don't just understand it. I want you to repeat it. Say it out loud. Try to copy the exact pronunciation. Copy the melody, the tone, the rhythm of the speaker. For example, if you hear a sentence like, I am going to the market, you should immediately say, I am going to the market. Repeat it exactly as you heard it. Do this every single day with podcasts, with movies, with any English audio you can find, and I guarantee your pronunciation, your rhythm, and your confidence will improve dramatically. Now that you have a clear plan for how to use English in your daily life, let's take your skills to the next level. Many learners know some English, but they still hesitate to speak. They are afraid of making mistakes. They worry that their pronunciation is not clear, or they feel a wave of nervousness when talking to others. But let me tell you something incredibly important. Even if your English is not perfect, you can still speak with confidence. Confidence is not about being flawless. It's about being brave enough to communicate despite your flaws. Today, I am going to show you exactly how to improve your pronunciation so people understand you clearly, how to sound more natural, and how to speak English with a confidence that shines through. If you follow what I tell you in this next part of our journey, you will never feel shy or afraid to speak English again. Let's begin by addressing a very common problem. Many people can understand English quite well. They can read books and write emails, but when it's time to actually speak, they freeze. Their heart starts beating faster. Their mind goes blank. Why does this happen? There are a few key reasons. First, as we've discussed, is the fear of making mistakes. You have an internal critic that whispers, "What if I say something wrong? What if they laugh at me?" Second is the worry about pronunciation. You feel like you don't sound like a native speaker, and this makes you self-conscious. Third is simply a lack of practice. You spend all your time studying about English, but you never actually practice the skill of speaking, so you don't feel confident in your ability. And fourth is the habit of thinking in your native language first. You mentally translate every single sentence before you say it, which makes your speech slow and drains your mental energy. Does any of this sound familiar? If you're nodding your head, yes, please don't worry. You are not alone, and I am going to give you the perfect solutions to overcome each of these challenges. If you want to speak English fluently and confidently, your pronunciation needs to be clear. You don't need to have a perfect American or British accent. That's not the goal. The goal is clarity, so that people can understand you easily and without effort. Here's how you can improve your pronunciation, starting today. The first and fastest way to improve your pronunciation is by listening carefully and copying native speakers. This is the shadowing technique we talked about. Find a simple video, an audio clip, or even just a short sentence spoken by a native speaker. Listen to it very carefully, not just for the words, but for the music of the language. How does the speaker's voice rise and fall? Which words are stressed? How do the words link together? Then, repeat it exactly the same way. For example, listen to this sentence. I want to go to the park. Now, don't just read it. Find an audio of a native speaker saying it and copy them exactly. Pause the audio and repeat it many times. I want to go to the park. Feel how the words flow together. If you do this for just 5 to 10 minutes every day, your pronunciation will improve naturally and rapidly. Second, I want you to speak slowly and clearly. Many learners make the mistake of trying to speak very fast because they believe it will make them sound more fluent. But this is a trap. Speaking too fast when you are not yet comfortable often leads to mumbled words and unclear pronunciation. This actually makes it harder for people to understand you. Instead, I want you to slow down. Focus on pronouncing every word properly. When you speak slowly and clearly, you give your listener time to understand you, and you give yourself time to think. Clarity is more important than speed. Third, a very powerful technique is to record your own voice and compare it. This might feel a little strange at first, but it is incredibly effective. Choose a sentence or a short paragraph, read it out loud, and record yourself using your phone. Then, listen back to the recording. How do you sound? Now, find a recording of a native speaker saying the same text. Compare your version with theirs. You will quickly notice the specific sounds or words where you need improvement. This is like being your own pronunciation coach. Even with good pronunciation, many people still feel shy and nervous when it's time to speak. So how can you build unshakable confidence? First, you must stop thinking about mistakes. I want you to truly absorb this idea. Mistakes are not bad. They are a necessary and beautiful part of the learning process. Even native English speakers make mistakes when they talk. So please give yourself permission to be imperfect. Second, confidence comes from practice. It's that simple. If you only study English but never actually speak, you will never feel confident. I want you to follow a simple rule. Every single day, speak English for at least 15 minutes. It doesn't matter who you talk to. You can talk to yourself in the mirror. You can talk to a friend who is also learning. You can find a language partner online. Just speak. Third, use the 3-second rule. This is a great trick to overcome hesitation. When you are in a conversation and you want to say something, don't wait and overthink it. Give yourself 3 seconds and then just speak. For example, if your friend asks, "What did you do yesterday?" Instead of thinking for a long time to form the perfect sentence, just say the first simple thing that comes to your mind. I went to the park. I watched a movie. I had a great day. If you wait too long, your anxiety will build up. The key is to trust yourself and just speak naturally. And fourth, the best way to gain confidence is by practicing real conversations. This brings us to the ultimate key to fluency, the final piece of the puzzle. Now, I am going to teach you how to train your brain to think directly in English, so you can stop translating in your head and start speaking fluently without any hesitation. This is the skill that separates intermediate speakers from truly advanced, fluent speakers. If you want to speak English as naturally as you speak your own language, you absolutely must train your brain to think in English. If you continue to translate from your native language, you will always be one step behind. Your speech will always be a little slow, and your sentences might sound unnatural because word order and expressions are different in different languages. But please, don't worry. I am going to show you exactly how to start thinking in English, even if you feel like a beginner right now. Why is thinking in English so crucial? As I mentioned, many people study English for years. They know thousands of words, but they still struggle to speak fluently. The main reason is that their brain is working too hard. Imagine you want to say a simple sentence like, I am going to the market. If you think in your native language first, your brain has to perform 3 separate operations. First, it forms the thought in your native language. Second, it searches for the English words and grammar to translate that thought. Third, it finally sends the signal to your mouth to speak. This entire process takes time, and it's mentally exhausting. Instead, you must train your brain to go directly from a thought or idea to English words, so that you can speak instantly and effortlessly. At first, this might sound like a very difficult skill to learn, but trust me, it is quite easy if you follow the right steps and start small. If you are a beginner or at an early intermediate level, don't try to think in big, complex sentences immediately. That will only lead to frustration. You need to start with the simplest building blocks, single words. For example, when you wake up in the morning, just look around your room and name the things you see in English. Silently in your mind, say, bed, pillow, window, sunlight. Do this throughout your entire day. When you're in the kitchen, think cup, plate, water. When you go outside and you see a tree, your mind should immediately think tree, not the word for tree in your native language. When you see a car, think car. This is the first and most fundamental step. You are teaching your brain to create a direct link between an object and its English name, cutting out the middleman of translation. After you have practiced with single words for a few days and it starts to feel more comfortable, you can move on to the next level, thinking in simple sentences. Again, don't try to be complicated. Just describe what you are doing or what you are seeing. For example, if you are brushing your teeth, think in your mind, I am brushing my teeth. When you are eating your breakfast, think, I am eating rice. This food is delicious. The key is not to translate. Don't think the sentence in your native language first. Just think directly in simple English. As we've discussed, talking to yourself in English is one of the best ways to practice speaking, and it's also one of the best ways to start thinking in English. Every day, dedicate just 5 to 10 minutes to speaking your thoughts out loud. For example, when you are getting ready in the morning, you can say to yourself, I'm choosing my clothes for today. I think I will wear the blue shirt. When you are walking outside, you can describe what you see. The weather is so nice today. I see a little girl playing with a ball. Of course, the more you listen to English, the faster your brain will learn the patterns and rhythms of the language, which will make it easier to think in English. So, watch English movies and videos every day. Listen to English podcasts while you're commuting or doing chores. Read simple English books and articles. But remember, you must combine this listening and reading with speaking. If you only consume English passively, you will not improve quickly. You must actively speak, even if you make mistakes. Talk to friends, family, or even just your reflection in the mirror. The more you speak, the faster you will learn to think in English. Here's a practical way to stop hesitation and speak more fluently. Don't think too much. Just speak. If you forget a word in the middle of a sentence, don't stop and panic. Just find another way to express your idea. Use simpler words. Describe the word you can't remember. For example, imagine you want to say, I lost my keys and I can't find them. But you suddenly forget the word lost. Instead of stopping, you could say, I don't have my keys. I don't know where they are. You see, you communicated the exact same message without hesitating. Don't be afraid of what others might think. The goal is communication, not perfection. If you follow a consistent plan every day, your brain will have no choice but to adapt and start thinking in English automatically. Here is a simple daily plan you can follow. In the morning, spend a few minutes naming everything around you in English. In the afternoon, practice making simple English sentences in your mind about what you are doing. In the evening, watch or listen to something in English for at least 20 minutes. And at night, before you sleep, speak to yourself in English for 5 to 10 minutes about your day. If you repeat this simple plan daily, I promise you that in just a few weeks, you will notice a huge difference. You will start thinking in English naturally, without even trying. We've laid the foundation, haven't we? We've agreed to shift our mindset from seeing English as a difficult subject to seeing it as an accessible skill. We've started to build our immersive English world, and we've given ourselves permission to speak without the heavy weight of grammar perfection. But now I want to take you beyond the basics. I want to give you the tools that will help you refine your speech, to help you sound not just correct, but truly natural. Let's talk more about the specifics of pronunciation, the real music of the English language, and how you can move from speaking word by word to speaking with a beautiful, confident flow. Many learners master the individual sounds of English, but they still sound a bit robotic. The secret to sounding natural lies in what happens between the words. It's about connected speech. Native speakers don't pronounce every single word perfectly and separately. We link them together. We reduce sounds. We create a smooth melody. This is likely the biggest reason you sometimes struggle to understand native speakers when they talk fast. It's not that they're speaking too quickly, it's that they're connecting their words and you're listening for separate blocks of sound. Let's explore this with some simple examples. The most common type of linking is when a word ends in a consonant sound and the next word begins with a vowel sound. We don't leave a space between them. We push them together as if they were one long word. Think about the phrase an apple. A native speaker doesn't say an apple. They say an apple. The N sound from an attaches itself to the A sound from apple. Let's practice this together. I'll say a phrase and I want you to repeat it after me, focusing on that smooth connection. Ready? Turn it off. It becomes turn it off. Again, turn it off. How about pick it up? It becomes pick it up. One more time. Pick it up. This happens everywhere in English. For example, instead of I'm in a hurry, a native speaker would naturally say, I'm in a hurry. This one simple change will instantly make your speech sound smoother and more fluent. Another form of connected speech is when a word ends in a consonant and the next one starts with a similar consonant. For instance, in the phrase bad dog, both bad and dog start with a D sound. We don't say bad a dog. We hold that first D sound for a fraction of a second and release it into the second D sound, making it one fluid motion. Bad dog. Try it with me. I need to sit down. It becomes sit down. You're not saying two T sounds, just one slightly longer one that connects the words. Beyond linking, we also use reductions. This is a huge key to understanding fast, natural speech. In casual conversation, we don't pronounce every word with its full dictionary pronunciation. We shorten or reduce common function words. For example, the phrase going to almost always becomes gonna. A native speaker would rarely say, I am going to watch a movie. They would say, I'm going to watch a movie. Similarly, want to becomes wanna. You wouldn't say, do you want to get a coffee? You would say, do you want to get a coffee? Let's practice a few of these. Repeat after me. I have to go becomes I have to go. I have gotta go becomes I gotta go. What do you want becomes what do you want? Learning to recognize and even use these common reductions will not only help you understand native speakers better, but it will also make your own speech sound much more relaxed and authentic. But perhaps the most important element of natural speech is its music, the rhythm and intonation. English is a stress-time language. This means that in a sentence, some words are said longer and louder, while others are spoken quickly and softly. We put stress on important words, the content words. These are usually nouns, main verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. We tend to rush through the less important function words, like prepositions, articles, and auxiliary verbs. For example, listen to this sentence. I went to the store for some bread. The stressed words are went, store, and bread. The other words, I, to, the, for, some, are unstressed and spoken very quickly. The rhythm sounds like da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum. This rhythm is the heartbeat of English. If you stress every word equally, I went to the store for some bread, your speech will sound unnatural and robotic. To practice this, take any simple sentence from a book or an article. Identify the content words and read the sentence out loud, emphasizing only those words. You can even tap your finger on the table for each stressed syllable to feel the rhythm physically. Intonation is the melody of your voice, the way it rises and falls. Intonation is incredibly powerful because it can completely change the meaning of a sentence. For example, take the simple sentence, "You're coming to the party." If I say it with a falling tone at the end, "You're coming to the party." It's a simple statement of fact, but if I say it with a rising tone at the end, "You're coming to the party?" Grut. It instantly becomes a question, even without changing the word order. Now what if I say, "You're coming to the party"? Where my voice goes up on you. I might be expressing surprise that you specifically are coming. Mastering intonation allows you to express your emotions and true meaning, moving beyond just the literal definition of the words. Now let's deepen our understanding of creating an English world. We've talked about surrounding yourself with English, but I want to make a crucial distinction between active and passive listening. Passive listening is when you have an English podcast, song, or news channel playing in the background while you're doing something else, like cooking or cleaning. This has some limited benefits. It helps your brain get used to the general sound, rhythm, and flow of English. It's better than listening to nothing. However, passive listening alone will not make you fluent. For true progress, you need active listening. Active listening is a focused, intentional activity. It's when you sit down with a piece of audio and your only goal is to understand it as deeply as possible. Let me give you a step-by-step guide for a powerful, active listening session. First, choose a short piece of audio, maybe a 1 or 2 minute clip from a podcast or a scene from a TV show. Make sure it's at a level that is slightly challenging for you, but not impossible. This is what we call comprehensible input. Step 1. Listen to the entire clip once without any transcript, just to understand the main idea or the general topic. Don't worry about understanding every single word. Just ask yourself, what is this about? Step 2. Listen to it again, this time with the transcript. Read along as you listen. This will help you connect the sounds you are hearing with the words on the page. Pause whenever you hear a word or phrase you don't know and look it up. Step 3. Listen one more time, but this time without the transcript again. You will be amazed at how much more you understand now that you've seen the words. Step 4, and this is a very powerful step. Try to transcribe a small part of the audio. Listen to one sentence, pause the audio, and try to write down exactly what you heard. Then check your writing against the actual transcript. This trains your ear to catch the details of connected speech, reductions, and pronunciation. And the final step, as we've discussed, is shadowing. Now that you understand the text deeply, listen to it sentence by sentence and repeat it out loud, trying to imitate the speaker's pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation as closely as possible. An active listening session like this, even for just 15 to 20 minutes a day, is 1,000 times more effective than 2 hours of passive listening. Finding the right content is also key. You want to find material that you genuinely enjoy. If you're not interested in the news, don't force yourself to listen to news podcasts. Learning should be fun. If you love to travel, watch travel vlogs on YouTube. If you're interested in science, find a science podcast for a general audience. If you enjoy comedy, watch a sitcom. Shows like Friends or The Office are often recommended for learners because the conversations are about everyday life, and the language is very natural. The most important thing is that the content is at the right level and that it keeps you engaged. And let's not forget the power of reading. Reading is a fantastic way to build your vocabulary and internalize correct grammar and sentence structure in a relaxed way. But again, you must choose the right material. If you try to read a complex novel by a classic author, you'll probably get frustrated and give up. I highly recommend starting with graded readers. These are books that have been specifically written for English learners at different levels. You can find graded readers at level B1 or B2 that are interesting and use language that you can understand without constantly stopping to use a dictionary. There are 2 main ways to approach reading. The first is extensive reading. This is when you read a lot of easy, enjoyable material. The goal here is not to learn every new word, but to read for pleasure and to absorb the language naturally. The second is intensive reading. This is when you take a short text, like a news article or a blog post, and you study it in detail. You look up every word you don't know, you analyze the sentence structure, and you make sure you understand it completely. A healthy reading habit includes a mix of both. Now let's talk more about building your vocabulary because this is often a major source of anxiety for learners. Many people try to learn new words by memorizing long lists of random vocabulary. This is one of the least effective ways to learn. Why? Because you're learning words in isolation, without any context. A much more powerful approach is to learn words in chunks, or what we call collocations. Collocations are words that naturally and frequently go together in English. For example, we don't say do a mistake, we say make a mistake. We don't say strong rain, we say heavy rain. We don't say fast food to mean food that is quick, but we do use that specific phrase. Instead of learning the individual words make, do, and decision, learn the entire chunk, make a decision. When you learn vocabulary in these natural pairings, a few amazing things happen. First, your language sounds much more natural. Second, it's easier to remember the words because they are connected in a logical phrase. And third, it helps you think and speak faster because you are retrieving a whole chunk from your memory instead of trying to build a sentence word by painful word. So, how can you learn collocations? Start paying attention to them whenever you are reading or listening. When you learn a new noun, for example, look for the verbs or adjectives that are commonly used with it. A great way to organize this is by keeping a vocabulary notebook. But please, don't just create a list of words with their translations. A truly effective vocabulary notebook entry should have several parts. First, write the new word or phrase. Second, write down the full sentence where you found it. This gives you context. Third, look up its definition in a good English-to-English dictionary, like the Longman or Cambridge online dictionary. This is a crucial step to start thinking in English. Fourth, write down a few common collocations with that word. And finally, and most importantly, write your own original sentence using the new word or chunk. This active use of the word is what moves it into your long-term memory. Now let's tackle the biggest challenge of all, overcoming the speaking barrier. Many of you are likely experiencing what is known as the intermediate plateau. This is a very common stage in language learning, where you feel like you've stopped making progress. You know a lot of English, but you don't feel like you're getting any more fluent. The number one reason for this is a lack of speaking practice. You can listen, read, and study all day, but if you don't actively practice speaking, your speaking skills will not improve. So where can you find people to practice with? Fortunately, in our digital world, there are more opportunities than ever before. You can use free language exchange apps like Tandem or HelloTalk. On these apps, you can find native English speakers who want to learn your native language. You can then help each other, maybe texting for half the time in English and half the time in your language, or having short voice or video calls. When looking for a partner, be patient. Try to find someone who is serious about learning and with whom you share some common interests. This will make your conversations more engaging if you are able to invest a little money in your learning. Online platforms like italki or Cambly are fantastic resources. On these sites, you can book one-on-one lessons with professional English tutors or informal conversation partners from all over the world for a very reasonable price. The benefit of practicing with a tutor is that they can give you corrections and guidance tailored specifically to your needs. But what do you do when you are actually in a conversation and you feel nervous or stuck? You need strategies. First, learn some natural filler phrases. When someone asks you a question and you need a moment to think, don't just stay silent or say, ugh. This can make you feel more nervous. Instead, use a filler phrase to buy yourself some time. You can say something like, well, that's a good question, or, let me see. Or simply, you know. These small phrases make you sound much more fluent and give your brain a few extra seconds to form your answer. Second, don't be afraid to ask for clarification. If you don't understand something someone said, it's perfectly okay to ask them to explain. This is much better than just nodding and pretending you understand. You can say things like, sorry, could you please repeat that? Or, I'm not sure I understand. What does the word de mean? Or so, if I understand correctly, you're saying that. This not only helps your understanding, but it also shows the other person that you are actively engaged in the conversation. Finally, I want to give you a simple structure to help you answer questions in more detail, so you can avoid giving simple yes or no answers. Think of it as the PARC method: point, example, reason, conclusion. First, you state your main point. Then, you give an example to illustrate it. After that, you explain the reason behind your point. And finally, you give a short conclusion. For example, If someone asks, "Do you like living in the city?" Instead of just saying yes, you could say, and point. Yes, I really enjoy living in the city. Example. For instance, there are always so many interesting things to do, like going to museums or trying new restaurants. Reason. I think it's because I love having a lot of options and feeling the energy of a busy place. Conclusion. So, overall, for me, city life is very exciting. This simple structure can help you organize your thoughts and speak in more complete, interesting sentences. As we bring all these ideas together, I want you to see your journey to fluency not as a single straight road, but as a garden. Your mindset is the soil. If the soil is rich and positive, anything can grow. Your immersion, the listening and reading you do, is the water and sunlight that nourish the seeds. Your vocabulary and grammar knowledge are the seeds themselves. But none of it matters if you don't allow the plant to actually grow, and that is what speaking is. Speaking is the act of growth. It might feel slow at first, just a small sprout pushing through the dirt. But with consistent care, with daily practice, it will grow into a strong, beautiful, and flourishing plant. Please, be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. Celebrate the small victories. The day you understand a new phrase in a song. The conversation you have where you don't hesitate as much as you used to. The moment you realize you just thought a complete sentence in English without even trying. These are all signs of progress. Fluency is not a destination you arrive at one day. It is the journey itself. It is the process of showing up, of trying, of communicating, and of connecting day after day. And as you continue on your way, I want to take you into a new territory, a deeper level of fluency that exists not just in what you say, but in how you think and feel in English. This is where the language stops being a tool you use and starts becoming a part of who you are. This next stage of our journey is about the psychology of fluency. It's about moving beyond simply narrating your actions, like we practiced earlier with, "I am making coffee." That is a fantastic starting point. But true fluency involves your entire inner world. It means being able to think about your hopes for the future, to reflect on your memories from the past, to form opinions about the world, and to feel and express your emotions, all directly in English. Let's begin by upgrading our internal monologue. Instead of just describing what you do, start describing what you think and feel. For example, when you're drinking your morning coffee, you can move from the simple thought, "I am drinking coffee," to something richer, like, "This coffee tastes really good today. I feel much more awake now. I hope I have a productive day at work. But I'm also feeling a little nervous about that meeting this afternoon." Do you see the difference? You are starting to have a real, internal conversation with yourself in English. You can do this anytime, anywhere. When you're listening to a song, don't just enjoy the music. Try to form an opinion about it in English. Think to yourself, "I really like the melody of this song, but I'm not sure I understand all the lyrics." The singer has a beautiful voice. When you're watching a movie, think about the characters. "I don't think she should trust him. He seems dishonest. I wonder what's going to happen next." This practice is incredibly powerful because it trains your brain to use English for complex thoughts, for reasoning, and for emotional expression. As you do this more and more, you might notice something fascinating begins to happen. You might start to feel that you have a slightly different personality when you speak English. This is a very common and normal experience for bilingual and multilingual people. Perhaps the way your native language is structured is very formal, and English allows you to be more direct and casual. Or maybe you find that you make more jokes in English because you've learned a lot of the language through comedies and sitcoms. I want you to embrace this. Don't feel like you have to be the exact same person in English as you are in your native language. Think of it as finding your English voice. Who is your English self? Is this version of you more outgoing, more curious, more analytical? Exploring this can be a fun and liberating way to practice. I once had a student named Kenji from Japan. In Japanese, he was very quiet, polite, and reserved. He told me he always struggled to speak English because he felt like he had to be the same quiet person. I encouraged him to experiment. I told him, when you speak English, pretend you are playing a character, a confident, friendly character. It felt strange to him at first, but he tried. He started using more expressive hand gestures, smiling more, and using more enthusiastic language he learned from American YouTubers. Over time, it stopped being an act. He discovered a part of himself that was genuinely more outgoing, and his English fluency exploded because he was no longer afraid of expressing himself. He found his English voice. As you get deeper into your immersion, you might even experience a major milestone of fluency, dreaming in English. The first time this happens, it can feel magical. You wake up in the morning and realize that the entire dream, the conversations, the thoughts, the feelings, it was all in English. This is a beautiful sign that the language is becoming deeply integrated into your subconscious mind. It happens because your brain has been so immersed in English during your waking hours that it continues to process information and form connections in English even while you sleep. You can't force this to happen, but you can create the right conditions for it. Try making the last thing you do before you sleep an English activity. Don't scroll through social media in your native language. Instead, read a few pages of an English book, or listen to a calm, relaxing English podcast or an audiobook as you drift off to sleep. This primes your brain to stay in English mode. Now, it's also very important to be realistic and kind to yourself on this journey. Trying to think and speak in a new language, especially for long periods, is mentally exhausting. There will be days when your brain feels tired, foggy, and slow. This is often called language fatigue or brain fog, and it is completely normal. On these days, it might feel like you've forgotten all the English you ever knew. Please do not get discouraged. This is not a sign that you are failing. It's a sign that your brain has been working very, very hard, and it needs a rest. You need strategies to manage this fatigue. One of my favorite techniques is the 5-minute brain break. If you've been studying or working in English for an hour and you feel your brain getting tired, give yourself a 5-minute break to think, speak, or read in your native language completely guilt-free. This little break can feel like a refreshing splash of cold water on your face, and you'll be able to return to English with renewed focus. Also, never underestimate the power of good sleep. Your brain consolidates learning and builds new language pathways while you sleep. Pushing yourself to study late into the night is often less effective than getting a good night's rest. The journey to fluency is a marathon, not a sprint. Be consistent, but also be compassionate with yourself. Now that we've explored the inner world of thinking and feeling in English, let's bring these skills into the outer world with some very practical, real-life scenarios. We've practiced simple daily conversations, But to reach a B2 level and beyond, you need to be able to handle more complex social situations. Let's master some of them together. Our first scenario is learning how to agree and disagree politely. This is a crucial skill in any language because it allows you to have interesting, respectful conversations and express your true opinions. Let's arm you with some phrases. When you strongly agree with someone, you can go beyond just saying, "I agree." You can use more powerful phrases like, "I completely agree." "You're absolutely right, Tito, I couldn't agree more." Or a more informal one, "I feel the exact same way." Sometimes you might agree with part of what someone is saying, but not all of it. This is called partial agreement. Here are some wonderful phrases for that. "I see your point, but have you considered?" "That's true to an extent, however." "I understand where you're coming from, although I think..." And now for the one that makes many learners nervous: polite disagreement. The key is to be soft and respectful. Instead of saying, "You're wrong," you can use much more elegant phrases like, "I'm not so sure about that." "That's an interesting perspective, but I see it a bit differently." Or, respectfully, "I have a different opinion on this." Let's imagine a mini dialogue to see these phrases in action. Imagine two friends, Leo and Maya, are discussing whether it's better to live in a big city or the countryside. Leo starts by saying, "I think living in the countryside is so much better than the city. It's peaceful and the air is clean." Maya could respond with partial agreement. "I see your point about the peace and quiet, Leo, but I think the city has a lot to offer too." Leo might ask, "Like what?" "It's just noisy and crowded." Now, Maya can use a polite disagreement phrase, "I see it a bit differently. For me, the city is exciting. There are museums, concerts, and so many amazing restaurants. I love having all of that right at my doorstep." Leo considers this and says, "That's true to an extent. However, I feel like you can't really connect with nature in the city." Maya could then respond with strong agreement on a shared point. "Oh, you're absolutely right about that. It's definitely harder to connect with nature. I guess it just depends on what's more important to a person." Do you see how using these phrases makes the conversation a respectful exchange of ideas, not an argument? I encourage you to pause and repeat some of these phrases out loud. Our next practical scenario is storytelling. Being able to tell a good story is one of the most important parts of conversation. It's how we share our experiences, connect with others, and make people laugh. I want to give you a simple framework for telling a short story. First, you need a hook to get your listener's attention. You can start with something like, "You won't believe what happened to me this morning." Or, "The funniest thing happened the other day." This makes your listener lean in and want to know more. Next, you need to set the scene. Use the past tenses to describe the background of the story. For example, "I was walking home from work yesterday evening. It was a beautiful day and I was listening to music." Then use sequencing words to guide your listener through the events. Words like first, then, next, and after that are very useful. For a moment of surprise, you can use the word suddenly. And to finish the story, you can use in the end or finally. The most important part of storytelling is adding detail and emotion. Use adjectives and adverbs to make your story more vivid and interesting. Instead of saying, "A dog ran past," you could say, "Suddenly, a tiny fluffy white dog ran excitedly past me." Instead of saying, "I felt bad," you could say, "Honestly, I felt so embarrassed." Let me tell you a short story as an example. You won't believe what happened to me at the supermarket last week. So I was in a real hurry and I had a long list of things to buy. I was rushing through the aisles, grabbing things as fast as I could. Then I got to the checkout and there was a very long line. After waiting for what felt like forever, it was finally my turn. I put all my groceries on the belt and the cashier started scanning them. When she told me the total, I reached into my bag for my wallet. And it wasn't there. My heart just dropped. I frantically searched everywhere, but it was gone. I felt so incredibly embarrassed, and I had to tell the cashier, "I'm so sorry, I think I've forgotten my wallet." But then, the kind older woman who was behind me in line tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry, dear. I'll pay for it." I was completely shocked. In the end, she paid for all of my groceries and she wouldn't even let me pay her back. It totally restored my faith in humanity. Our final practical scenario is giving advice and making suggestions. This is something we do all the time with friends and family. Let's learn some phrases to do this naturally in English. When you are making a simple suggestion, you can use phrases like, "Why don't we get some pizza tonight?" "How about going to the cinema this weekend?" "Maybe we could start a study group." When you are giving more direct advice to someone who has a problem, you can say, "I think you should talk to him about it." Or the very common phrase, "If I were you, I would apologize." If you want to offer your advice more softly and gently, you can use these wonderful phrases. "Have you thought about taking a few days off?" Or, "It might be a good idea to make a list of your priorities." Let's put this into a dialogue. Imagine your friend, Sarah, seems stressed. You ask, "Hey, Sarah, you seem a bit stressed. Is everything okay?" Sarah replies, "Oh, I'm just so overwhelmed with my exams. I have 3 big exams next week, and I don't know where to start." You can then offer a gentle suggestion. Have you thought about making a study schedule?" Sarah says, "I tried, but I still feel like there's not enough time." Now you can offer some stronger but still supportive advice. "I understand. If I were you, I would try to focus on just one subject per day. Trying to study everything at once can be really confusing." You could also make another suggestion. "And hey, why don't we take a short break and go for a walk? It might help clear your mind." By mastering these practical conversational skills, you move beyond just knowing English words and grammar. You learn how to use English to build relationships, to share your ideas, and to navigate the complexities of social life. This is the heart of true fluency. It's about connection, not just correction. As we come to the final part of our session today, I want you to take a moment and look back on the incredible journey we've just taken. We started by transforming our mindset, turning fear into confidence. We learned how to build a rich, immersive English world right in our own homes. We freed ourselves from the pressure of perfect grammar and focused on the joy of communication. We've explored the very music of the English language, its rhythm, its connections, its melody. We've dived deep into the psychology of fluency, learning to think and feel in our new language. And we've armed ourselves with the practical tools needed to navigate real-world conversations with grace and confidence. The central message, the one idea I hope you carry with you long after you finish listening, is this: fluency is not a subject you study. It is a lifestyle you live. It's found in the small, consistent choices you make every single day. It's in changing your phone's language. It's in narrating your morning routine in your mind. It's in the courage to speak to a stranger, even if you make a mistake. It's in the joy of understanding the lyrics to your favorite English song for the first time. Please remember that your journey is unique. Do not compare your progress to anyone else's. Some days you will feel like you are flying, and other days you will feel like you are stuck. Both are normal parts of the process. The only thing that matters is that you keep showing up. Be patient with yourself. Be proud of how far you have already come, and never ever forget that you are capable of achieving this dream. So my call to action for you today is simple. Choose just one thing, one small manageable action from everything we discussed, and commit to doing it today. Maybe it's recording your voice for 2 minutes. Maybe it's learning one new collocation and using it in a sentence. Maybe it's simply taking 5 deep breaths and telling yourself, I can do this. That is how real change begins. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your energy with me today here at English in Advance. It is an honor to be your guide on this path. If you found this session helpful, please subscribe and join our wonderful community of learners from all over the world. You are not alone on this journey. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and keep believing in yourself. I can't wait to see you in our next session. Until then, take wonderful care of yourself.